Good morning. It is 10 o'clock here in Texas on Sunday, and you know what time it is. It's time for another Salty Texas woodworking project. Yes, we're doing another project using epoxy, scrap wood, and as you saw from the thumbnail, we're using a lot of glitter. Super excited about this project. So what we're doing here is we're mixing up East Coast resin. We put some pearl dye in it, and we have this glitter that is like really fine red sparkly glitter that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and I've done some other glitter bowls in the past, but wow, I didn't think that this one would come out as amazing as it has. And I will say this because I say this all of the time. This is probably one of the coolest projects I have ever made. So all we're doing right now is we're mixing this up real good. We're using East Coast resin for this project. We have all the scrap wood in the 5-liter pot, and awesome, look how cool this looks. And you can see all the glitter that's in the epoxy bowl itself, or the mixing bowl, just glitter everywhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness, glitter. This is, and when I poured this, I thought this was going to be the biggest bowl that I've ever made. It's definitely one of the largest, and I thought I had enough epoxy. As you can see there, everything looked okay, and then we got it out of the pot, but I didn't pour enough once we took it out of the pressure pot. Put it in there 4.5 hours. This is the blank. Surprisingly, we didn't have to ship out this particular bowl blank. It just came out all by itself. But as you can see here, the waste block, there's a lot of unevenness. But look at the bottom though. Look at that thing. Look at the intensity of how much glitter is on this bowl. It looks absolutely fabulous. I love it. Love this blank. And I'm going, okay, it didn't go exactly the way I wanted it, but the casting turned out absolutely beautiful. It looks gorgeous. I knew this glitter was just going to sparkle, and I'm all ready to go. I'm all ready to go. I'm amped up for this project, and I'm thinking, okay, pretty large bowl blank. Can my MIDI lathe handle it? That's the other thing I was thinking about. So we got the waste block on. Here I am making sure to wear a glove because that epoxy will cut your hands if you're not careful with it. So if you're using epoxy and you make a bowl blank like that, wear gloves because I have been cut in the past. So here we are screwing on the faceplate, and I like to screw the screws in about a little bit, almost all the way, but not all the way because then it'll crack. So we're putting this monster on the lathe. Just huge. This bowl blank is absolutely huge. It's ginormous. Look at this thing. So I got it all set up. I got the blocks in the back to stabilize it. Here I am getting mentally prepared, and we're spinning. Here we go. Starting to get some of this material off, and I'm like, oh my god. So I put the chisel on there, and I was getting a lot of, you can see I'm not getting really much ribbons. Like I'm getting a little bit of ribbon, but it's mostly just a lot of fray and a lot of spatter everywhere. And then I got a phone call from a scammer asking me if I have upgraded my car insurance. I'm sure everybody's been getting those phone calls. So that's why we stopped at that moment right there. So once I got the scammer off, now we're back to putting in the work. So here we are taking the gouge, trying to smooth out that superficial layer, as I always say, trying to get that everything, nice, even before we flip it on the chuck and start making our mortise. The shavings got in the way of the camera a lot on this project. So there's going to be a lot of this, a lot of stop and go, back and forth. But what initially had me concerned was, one, the size of this blank. It's absolutely huge. And the other thing I was concerned about was getting a lot of that glass, flaky, material off. It wasn't coming off in good ribbons initially. And then I had to switch between the actual gouge itself and then the round carbide tool. And the round carbide tool was getting a lot of good ribbons, but I was still getting that flaky crystallization off a little bit. And here I am, in and out, as far as zooming in. I'm not a very good YouTuber, by the way. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. I'm trying, though. As of this recording, this is like March 20. Let me check my timer here. March 24, and we are still at, we're over 500 subscribers. We're going to get to 1,000 definitely this year. So here we are, just trying to get everything nice and even, switching back, like I was saying, from the round carbide tool with the chisel, and just trying to get that bottom all nice and round. That's what we're going for. Getting good shavings, wearing my face shield as I should. Getting everything nice and adjusted. No actual shaking on the lathe, which is good. And we're just peeling back the layers, trying to get that small little divot that's on the side. I don't know if you saw that there. I'm absolutely covered in ribbons by this point, but feeling pretty good about it. Got everything nice and even, trying to get that bottom rounded out the way that we like. And now we are working on the bottom, gonna build that mortise. So this part went really easy. I had that nice piece of pine that's at the bottom. And we're adjusting the banjo, and now we're starting the easy part, which is building the mortise. And I need to get a new square carbide tool because you won't see it in this video, but I broke that damn handle of that thing. It absolutely snapped off. So here we are digging that portion out. Everything's going real nice and easy. Everything's nice and smooth. You can see there in the blank, everything's ready to go. So now we're removing the faceplate off of the waste block itself, and we're getting to one of my other favorite parts of the project, which is chipping off the waste block using just a flat chisel. Put the glove back there, trying to avoid any more, even though I got to come back and gouge everything on the side of it. I put the glove there just to prevent scratches mentally in my head. I think that's going to do something. It really doesn't, but I'm just trying to cushion the blow of hitting it so hard. So there we are, waste block, got it reversed on the chuck, and now we are working on the lip portion of the bowl, trying to get everything nice and even. And this part went relatively smooth, didn't have a lot of issues there. You can see me wearing my Texas Tech Red Raider. We got blown out, by the way, by Arkansas. You guys are watching this in March Madness. You guys are watching this in like August, so there's already a champion who wasn't Texas Tech. Anyway, back to the video. So here we are taking the flat skew, getting everything nice and even, realizing that there's a large gap at the lip of the bowl, and I didn't want to take off all of that material, so we're just taking off layer after layer, trying to get everything nice and even, trying to conserve as much of the material as possible. Had a little bit of chip out there, and now we're just taking the round carbide tool, trying to fix that, and did pretty good with it. And here we are with the Sawzall. So instead of spending a considerable amount of time trying to remove that faceplate where there's not enough epoxy, I just took the Sawzall and just took that bad boy off. I haven't had to do this in a project in a very long time. You can go back to some of my previous videos and where I had to do this all the time. So pour your epoxy, make sure that you used enough. I didn't in this particular instance, but got it off, and it's just a waste block, threw that off, and I was like, okay, cool, we're cool, baby. And plus, it's really cool using power tools, by the way. So once we got a majority of that waste block off, now all we're doing is trying to flatten everything out nice and smooth before we get to the actual gouging portion of it. And again, just taking that round carbide tool, getting a lot of the material off, working the block, making sure everything is nice and even before we start the gouging portion of this. And ribbons are getting all over the camera lens, but we're cleaning up pretty nice. Total time on this project was about 2 days, not including the epoxy pour and the pressure pot portion of it. But here we are, got everything real nice and even down. So now we're just hitting it one last time. Everything's nice and even, especially on the lip of the bowl. You want to do this part early so you don't have to come back and hit it. But once I did that, there are cracks that I didn't notice when I had done the outside portion of it. So once I got that flat part off, this is where you start to see the cracks in the epoxy. You can see that there's some casting problems, and I'm going, oh shit, this is not going to end up well for me. So what that means is there's some fractures in the epoxy itself. That's either from the pressure pot, or I didn't mix the epoxy well, or sometimes what I'm realizing also, the deeper the pour, sometimes that becomes a problem itself. But we started the gouging part, and I don't know what it was about this, but man, I gouged this. This is probably the fastest I've ever gouged out a bowl ever in my early woodworking career. I have never gouged out anything this quickly, which was very surprising. I expected this to take, at least an hour. I had this thing gouged out in less than half an hour using the bowl gouge and coming back and hitting it with that round carbide tool. It wasn't really smooth as butter. It really didn't come off. I don't know. For some reason, I was just working the tools really good to this particular project, and it just gouged out really fast. So came back, hitting it with that square carbide tool, and then just rounding off the lip edge. And I was really concerned at this part because I knew there were cracks and fractures in the epoxy. What I was really concerned about is I was going to take it, too thin on the side or the lip of the bowl, and I was just going to have a shit ton of problems. But luckily, we didn't have any major issues, and as you can see in the video, we're taking layer after layer off, which is great. So this part went really smooth, didn't have a lot of problems with it, was really happy with it. And then we just came back with the round carbide tool, and we're just hitting it up, trying to smooth everything else out nice and even. Really happy with myself at this particular point in the project, and we're just taking those fine details, getting everything, you know, nice and smooth. You try to do the deepest amount of that you can with the bowl. So once we got all that nice and even, then we came back and started to just, this part was very, you know, like, eesh, because what I realized was like there was still a lot of material on the bottom, and I was just needing to get that off, and I didn't want to use the round carbide tool. Came back, hit it with a skew, and then just trying to get as much of that material off nice and even, because if there's an unevenness with the round carbide tool, yeah, I had a little bit of chip out from that round carbide tool, and I had to work it out using the flat skew. Because, you know, this is obviously the next day when we finish the project, and sometimes when you're doing these, things look good initially and you think you're done, and then you come back and have second thoughts about it, and that's what ended up happening with this. That's why I came back and hit it twice after I started gouging, because usually I won't do outer work once I've started the gouging process, but a part of me was like, gotta get it done. So here we are, sanding everything. You guys know how much I love sanding, starting from 340, working all the way up to the micro mesh, and this was a larger project, so we had to use a lot of sand, not a lot of sandpaper. Usually I'd take about half a sheet of sandpaper, but this one I took the whole sheet of sandpaper, and you can see my shoulder there, real stout looking dude. Yeah, LOL. So here we are, and then boom, realizing, okay, there's some problems. So the reason why I went back with the flat skew was to get out these imperfections that you could see when we started sanding. So I had to really debate whether or not I was going to come back and try to even everything out. And I did, and I knew I was risking a lot. I knew that I was risking the potential of having something fly off, but I'm really glad I went back with the flat skew and got all those imperfections out, because the round carbide tool will create gouges. So when I didn't really see them until I started sanding, and then I realized, okay, I had to come back, hit it with that skew. So glad it worked out that way. Once we got everything flattened out, continued with the sanding, and then we went back and hit it with a micro mesh, just getting that wet sanding done, getting that epoxy real nice and shiny. And at this point I knew I made a masterpiece, and here we are hitting it with the wood wax that we will, you know, continue to use on the channel until I get some Yorkshire grit like a professional woodworker. But wow, I mean, you can already look here. I mean, this is just the first base layer of wood wax. It looks absolutely gorgeous. This is probably one of my favorite projects I have ever built. Can't believe it turned out so well. Absolutely gorgeous piece, absolutely gorgeous. And everybody at work already wants to steal it from me. So that's how you know you're doing something right, when other people can appreciate your work. So here we are, just buffing it out, getting everything nice and even. And here it is, final presentation. And yeah, I almost put my hand on the turning chuck there, as you can see. I don't know if you saw that. Go back, rewind it. You can see I almost stuck my hand in there like an idiot. So here it is, final piece. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. You can see all the sparkle in there. The wood, the sparkle with the wood, with the white pearl. I mean, it looks gorgeous. Like, I can't say enough about it. One of the best projects I have hands down ever made. So hope you guys enjoyed this project. It was absolutely beautiful to make. Had a little bit of trouble, but it turned out gorgeous. You guys are watching this in August of 2021. I finished this one back in March of 2021. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Hopefully by this time we're a little bit closer to that goal. And hope you guys are doing well. Hope everybody's having a great summer, and I'll see you guys in the next project. Peace! So, project is done. This is probably one of the best bowls I have ever made. If you have made it to this part of the video, thank you for sticking around. Even though this bowl gave me a shit ton of problems, it's absolutely stunning. Like, the glitter, the wood, it just sparkles. Like, I wish, like, the video does it, like, unless you can see it up close, like, it is absolutely gorgeous. Just absolutely beautiful piece. It looks fucking amazing. Had a lot of problems with it. Not a lot of problems, just a lot of hiccups, I would say. We've gotten better at making these bowls. This is probably the largest bowl I've ever made. One of the largest. But wow, it is absolutely stunning. There's the bottom. You can see where the mortise kind of chipped off there. But this is just stunning the way this glitter is. Like, just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So hope you guys like the project. Hope you guys subscribe, like the video, all that good shit that all YouTubers say. But wow, absolutely fucking amazing. Today is March 18th, 2019. That is the conclusion date for this. You guys are probably watching this in early August, probably. Hope everybody's having a great summer. Wow, absolutely stunning. So hope you guys like the project. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next project. Peace.